Act out your beliefs. The performance of ritual and repetition. Tibetan Buddhism uses colorful and imaginative rituals. These aim to engage the Buddhist emotionally and physically, not just intellectually. This allows the Buddhist to experience what it would feel like to be enlightened. Act out your beliefs. In most forms of Buddhism, the rituals are simple, perhaps just making an offering before a Buddha image, while Tibetan Buddhism is colorful and dramatic. During worship, monks may chant repeated phrases, mantras, wear striking headdresses, blow horns, and use elaborate hand gestures, mudras often while holding small symbolic objects, vajras, and bells. Lay Buddhists may also chant, turn prayer wheels, and set out colorful prayer flags. At festivals, there may be dramatic performances and dancing, with huge images on cloth spread out or hung on temple walls, and the creation and destruction of intricate sand patterns, known as mandalas. How is all of this, which seems so different from the early simplicity of the Buddhist path, explained and justified? For more than 1,000 years, Buddhism and Hinduism coexisted in India and influenced one another. When Padmasambhava, revered as the founder of Tibetan Buddhism, took the religion to Tibet in the early 8th century, it was in a form influenced both by the general Mahayana tradition, which had already spread to China, and by the devotional tradition, Bhakti, of Hinduism that had developed in India during the previous centuries. Bhakti involved a more personal and emotional engagement with worship, which was taken a step further in both Hinduism and Buddhism with the development of Tantra. Tantra involves not just thinking about what will be achieved by spiritual practice, but also a process of acting out. For instance, rather than simply visualizing an image of a Buddha, the practitioner imagines him or herself as the Buddha. This process of emotional engagement involves the whole person, not just the intellect, encouraging him or her to feel what it would be like to be enlightened. So, for example, the mudras that are made in tantric worship are the same as those depicted on the images of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. Each of the mudras expresses a particular quality. An open-handed gesture, palm turned outward, expresses generosity. The fearless mudra with the right hand raised as though giving a greeting, a blessing, or even a stop sign, is believed to induce a feeling of determination. By making these gestures, a Buddhist imitates the image of the Buddha or Bodhisattva, and thereby identifies with what it represents. Chanting, mudras, and other aspects of Tantric Buddhism aim to immerse the worshipper in a dramatic expression of what the path toward enlightenment is about, by not just explaining it, but making it feel real. Personalized rituals. Tantric rituals are performed under the instruction of a teacher, or lama, who selects those that are likely to be of particular value to each individual. In other words, practitioners are given an individualized set of images to visualize, mantras to chant, and mudras to perform, depending on their personal inclinations and what they hope to achieve. Although there are tantric aspects to publicly accessible forms of Tibetan worship, many tantric rituals are designed to be performed in private and their details are generally kept secret. But, whether performed in private or public, the feature common to all is that beliefs and values are acted out using esoteric texts and actions. Tibetan Lamas. In Mahayana Buddhism, a bodhisattva is someone who remains on earth to help others, perhaps through many lifetimes. Tibetan Buddhism refines the idea to a tulku, or reincarnate lama, lama being the title given to a senior Buddhist teacher in Tibet. When a great lama dies, it is thought that another will be born to carry on his work. A search is made for the new lama, and the child candidate is expected to identify objects from his past life as a sign that he is indeed the reincarnation. There are hundreds of tulku. Perhaps the best known is the Dalai Lama, considered the incarnate form of Avalokiteshvara, a bodhisattva of compassion and the patron deity of Tibet. While he is regarded as the bodhisattva's latest manifestation, he remains an ordinary human, albeit one with the extraordinary vocation of expressing Avalokiteshvara in today's world. In context, key movement, Tibetan Buddhism. When and where, from 8th century Tibet. Before 300 tantric rituals that use dramatic forms to act out spiritual realities start to develop within some branches of Hinduism in India. 4th century Yogacara Buddhist philosophy argues that all we know of reality is in fact an interpretation made by the mind, therefore imaginative and symbolic actions are real for us. After 19th century Western Orientalist scholars take an interest in Tantric Yoga. 1959 Following the Chinese invasion of Tibet, lamas start teaching Tantric Tibetan Buddhism in other parts of the world, particularly the US and Europe.